Starting 2023 off with a crowd pleaser. This has a 97% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. It's time to talk about Tom Hanks in A Man Called Otto. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new film, A Man Called Otto. This is in theaters right now, and yeah, it is a big hit with audiences, a huge score, like I said, with audience ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. Tom Hanks doing his sort of curmudgeon bit that he's been doing lately in some of his movies. Before we launch into the review of this one, though, I want to welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. Lots of great stuff, movie and TV-wise, on the channel for you to peruse. Please consider subscribing down below. Like this video, share this video, comment on the video. All of these things help the channel out, and I do appreciate it. So let's launch into this movie. This is a remake of a Swedish film called A Man Called Otto from 2015. I was not doing movie reviews on the channel at that point. Or maybe I was. Maybe it was in the old Film Fanatics days, but I don't think we ever covered this movie on that show. But I did watch it and really enjoyed it. I think I gave it an A-. So, okay, that's pretty good. So it was kind of interesting to compare and contrast these two films. And it's all based on this book, which was also, I think, called A Man Called Otto. But before I launch into even the specifics, I have sort of a general rule when watching movies and grading movies. If I cry in a movie, and not cry from, it being so horrible, but, an emotional cry, that a C is like the absolute floor that I will give a movie, and then it goes up from there. Because I feel like even in sort of a bad movie, if there's something that gets me choked up, that gets me emotional enough to cry, then obviously it achieved some of its goal. This movie did it to me twice, and so that is certainly a good thing. I don't, like raise it a letter grade for each cry or anything, but certainly, it's something to consider. And this is one of those sort of crowd-pleasing feel-good movies. It's easy to see why this has such a high audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. But if you look at the critic side of things, not so much. More in the 60 range of 55%, 60 range. I don't know what it's at right now, but so it's interesting to kind of watch this movie from the lens of, okay, well, I'm going to have to review it. So, what are the positives? What are the negatives? And to be honest, I think there are some things I could certainly point to and say, well, that wasn't done so well, or maybe it could have been like this. But, at the end of the day, this is a movie for the audiences. This is a crowd pleaser. And not all of them are spectacular. One of my all-time favorite movies, Hidden Figures. You could find, a few flaws in it for sure. But I absolutely love it, and it was a huge crowd-pleasing movie. Same with The Blind Side, and these movies got Oscar nominated for Best Picture. This one did not. The Academy sort of did not give it any love at all, which is kind of expected. I don't think we thought it was going to, and in fact, that's why I'm going to put it in my 2023 reviews, even though it did come out at the tail end in 2 theaters in 2022 to be eligible for the Oscars. It didn't get wide release till mid-January, so for me, that's a 2023 movie. But in any event, Tom Hanks plays the titular character, Otto, who is a 63-year-old retiree and a widower from good old Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, just a few hours from where I am right now. He was a steel worker for a long time, and after the death of his wife, his life started falling apart, and he became more and more angry at the world, and wants to actually end his life. He attempts early on in the movie to hang himself, and he ends up getting distracted by some new neighbors moving in, and the neighbors played by one of my favorites, actually, in the whole movie, maybe my favorite, Mariana Trevino plays Marisol, the wife, and then Manuel Garcia Ruflo, or Rolfo, is the husband, Tommy. And they sort of become friends with Otto, kind of, take him in as maybe part of the family. Their 2 daughters just take to him right away, and he is, of course, not having it. Oh, I hate the world, whatever. And all throughout the movie, we see flashbacks of the younger Otto with his ex-wife, or even their courtship all the way back to when they met. And the young version is played by Truman Hanks, which, you might, that last name might be familiar. Yeah, it's one of Tom Hanks's sons. It's the one that's not Colin. It's the one that's not a rapper. It's the other one, which I don't know if I ever heard of until this movie. But he looks enough like him, that you sort of can see that. I'm not sure that he has the same mannerisms like Colin does. But okay, it's fine. But I'm not sure that I don't know. I go back and forth on the flashbacks. Did we need them? How much did they add to the story? I mean, it's not hard to see that, okay, this guy is heartbroken, losing his wife. Do we need to necessarily go down that path and see the connection there? Maybe. I think the filmmakers maybe did not trust the audience to assume that, okay, this guy was a nice person at one point, and the loss of his wife has kind of broken him. I'm not sure that we needed our hand held quite like that, but I think that is what a feel-good movie does sometimes. It doesn't necessarily trust the audience to come to their own conclusions, like it wants to walk you through it. So I have some mixed feelings about that for sure. I also have some mixed feelings about Tom Hanks in the role in general, because he's doing this thing now where he wants to, I guess, play these sort of more curmudgeonly roles. In the Elvis movie, he was the bastard agent of Elvis, or manager, or whatever, Colonel Tom Parker. And he's done, a couple of these recently. In Pinocchio, he was Geppetto, so he wasn't necessarily, the jerk of that story. But here's one where it's like, you have to really believe that this guy just hates the world, wants to end his life. I never quite bought it, to be honest. We all love Tom Hanks. He's the best. So, and I know acting is acting and whatever, but he's played the nice guy for so long. If he started out his career playing more, of a mix, villain, hero, maybe I could accept it more. But, he spent 35, 40 years playing the hero of the story for the most part. And so we get it. You have to have somebody in this role that is going to, by the end, make everybody come around. And, okay, we realize, he's this nice person. I said no spoilers, but, it's a feel-good movie. I think we can imagine, some of the things that happen along the plot. But so I understand that you need somebody in that sort of role, somebody that is likable enough, because if he's a D-bag from the start of the movie till, 2/3 in, you're not gonna really respect that change when it comes, right? So, all right. But, in A Man Called Otto, of course, I did not know the person. It's a Swedish movie. I don't really follow Swedish cinema, so I didn't know him. So it maybe worked for me a little bit better in that movie just because I didn't know the guy. He wasn't known as a worldly good guy, whatever. So I'm not sure about that. But look, at the end of the day, I don't think this movie is necessarily trying to be high art, necessarily. I think maybe it's trying to make us think about how we live our lives, how we treat other people. Those are not bad things, and I think it conveys that message pretty well. And like I said, it choked me up a couple of different times in the movie. And I will say one of them was one of the flashback scenes. So I guess maybe, I like the flashback stuff a little more than I originally thought. So yeah, overall, I think this is a good movie. I don't think it's as good as the original. But I think audiences are loving it because we don't necessarily get a lot of movies like this anymore. It's like one or two a year, it feels like, where there is mostly dramatic, stuff within, but we get some laughs. We get to think a little bit about, maybe how we live. And I think these are all pretty good things. So at the end of the day, I'm going to leave A Man Called Otto with a B. Not that far down from the original, to be honest, all right, that's going to do it. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see everybody next time on Dan Reviews It. Bye.